Man, you know what? That brings me to like back in the club days, man. Yo, Mike, yeah, I know you've been in the club days. It makes you want to dance a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, I know we're old now, but it brings us back to the to the club days. You know what I'm saying? Little club 14, 15 action, little Maui, little Egypt, who knows? But welcoming everybody, Heat Ratio Live, episode 130. I cannot believe we're at 130 episodes. Unbelievable. Ridiculous. Bringing it in, as always, Mr. John Coker, Mikey Googs, Mr. Dave Dixon will not be with us tonight. Unfortunately, his best friend had passed away, so he's doing a little, sip of 40 to his memory, little gangster lean action tonight with his boys. But rest in peace, Billy. I know that was his buddy, so he'll be back with us next week. We got a lot to talk about. Obviously, we're going to talk Sixers with the new hiring of Doc Rivers, talk about an Eagles win, maybe the reversion of Carson Wentz, if we want to call it that. Some Eagles trivia, as always. We have to talk some Phillies because the organization is so sad right now with the JT Realmuto situation. And before we start, rest in peace, Eddie Van Halen. Eddie Van Halen dies, loses his battle with cancer at 65 years old. Listen, I'm not a huge rock and roll guy, fellas. I like all kinds of music. I'm a hip-hop kid by heart. I continue to be a hip-hop kid, but at the end of the day, I know who Eddie Van Halen is, right? And he was the guy who made it to be cool to be a guitarist, from what I understand. Whether it be David Lee Roth or Sammy Hagar, When in Love, songs from back in the day that just can jumpstart a day. Mike, are you a Van Halen guy at all?
I mean, I hate to say it, no, I'm not. I mean, I think I lean more towards you. Now, I would say, as I've gotten older, I've discovered a lot of that music that I felt like I missed out on, especially, some of the rock music, the classic rock music. I mean, I was really torn up and, and just the hip hop, when that whole scene broke in, it was all Run DMC back then, showing my age a little bit. But I mean, that's really what we were dialed into. But obviously I know who he is. And it's just a shame. It's a shame, man.
And then John, what about you, buddy? I know I know this resonates with you, doesn't it?
I mean, I'm not huge, and my genres are all over the place. But yeah, I mean, I like Van Halen. A lot of their earlier stuff, from like the early '80s, Panama, Jump. I was a David Lee Roth guy, more than a Sammy Hagar. Didn't really dig the '80s music that they all had, but the earlier stuff, oh yeah, I could jam out.
Yeah, I go over to Matt, but either way, I mean, he's a legend. We lose another guy, another rock and roll legend, and it just shows our age, boys. Unfortunately, we are getting up there, and this is what happens. I remember back in the day, my dad always telling me, yeah, you're getting old when you start reading obituaries and say, hey, I remember him. Right now, they were true, man. Unfortunately, this is the life, that we live right now. But boys, we got to talk. Let's dive right into this Eagles situation, and we have to talk about it because listen, it just dominates the headlines, and it is what it is. And we win. Was it pretty? No. Was it something we're jumping around saying we're going to the Super Bowl now? No. I think it's ridiculous that we're in first place at one. Listen, I mean, we could talk about it all day long, but at the end of the day, this is my quick opinion, and obviously we're going to open it up to you guys. Is Carson Wentz decide to be a little bit more of Carson Wentz? Doug Peterson decide to be a little bit more of the old Doug Peterson. And what was it great? No, right? We got a ton of knocks on it. Doug Peterson, why was Miles Sanders not giving the ball in the second half, right? So, that's just one of the issues I have. But Carson Wentz to me, and guys, we talked about that last week. We talked about the Carson Wentz that we haven't seen. The guy checking at the line, the kill guy, the guy rolling out of the pocket, taking those dives. That was taken away from him. He came back a little bit this week, just a little bit, and it was enough, right? It was enough. That pass to Travis Fogel.
Who?
Yeah, exactly.
Fogel.
Right. Look, here we go. Let's replay it real fast.
Get down at 18. Wentz back again. He steps up. He is floating it, and it is caught by Fulgham, who's in for a touchdown, I believe. Yes, Travis Fulgham, of all people. Travis Fulgham, get to know him. He just caught a touchdown, a 42-yard touchdown from Wentz.
Great job of protection, and that's where it all begins. But Fulgham just outruns the cornerback. And this is the same cornerback that was just beaten, Deontay Johnson. Fulgham just outruns him, gives him a little shake at the line of scrimmage, beats him down the field.
That touchdown brought to you by the Delaware Valley Honda dealers. Hurry to your local Delaware Valley Honda dealer for great deals on all models. In case you're wondering, that's TRAVISFULGHAM.
I had to let that play. To hear Merrill Reese spell out the name, dude, is classic.
Get to know him. Get to know him. He said he was so happy.
He was. Mike, this guy hasn't been able to be happy in the last 3 weeks.
That's a good point.
Think about it.
And that ball went up, and you saw number 13. Tell me you weren't thinking.
Oh,
tell me you weren't thinking.
Nelson
Aguilar.
Yeah. I'm so glad you said it.
Catch the ball this time at the top of my lungs. And then I'm like, wait a minute, that's not Aguilar.
Yeah.
It was a crazy.
First
it was
thing.
a flashback, man. It was a crazy flashback seeing that.
Oh, dude, it was. It was because he kind of looked like Aguilar.
Yeah, sure.
His mannerisms were looking like Aguilar.
I could have sworn it was Aguilar. I'm still not convinced it wasn't.
That's the crazy part, man.
Crazy game.
When you think about it, and listen, who would have known? I mean, who would have known that's what would have happened, man? That's the crazy thing, and I'll tell you, it sucks that Dave's not here tonight. I can't wait because I wanted him to give some credit to Jim Schwartz because I think Jim Schwartz deserved some credit in that game, right? I really do. I think Jim Schwartz deserves some credit in that game because, listen, this was the second week in a row his defensive line at the end of the game was balling out. They really were. And if you look at that film, he was calling some line stunts that were just off the hook, man. Really, no doubt about it. And, whether it be Brandon Graham, whether it be Josh Sweat, whether it be Fletcher Cox, whether it be Derek Barnett. Derek Barnett all of a sudden develops a swim move. Where did that come from? I have no idea, right? No idea. But they were balling, man. And I'll tell you what, I don't know if you guys seen it, but that last play, Darius Slay, I don't know if you see it, right? Darius Slay saves the day. Dude, that was almost a touchdown. We're not even talking about a win right now if it's not for Darius Slay, who we thought was injured and got taken out of the game. So, listen, this is something we needed. John, I know you're usually the voice of reason. You're always the guy kind of pump the brakes a little bit. But, I mean, listen, I know the excitement levels are off the chain right now because of what they did. But when you look at that Dallas team giving up 49 points to Cleveland, I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, right? It's unbelievable. How do you not get excited about this Eagles win?
No, you have to get excited. It was a win against a very, very good team. Granted, without Jimmy G, without Mostert, without Bosa, but it's still a win you needed. It was you were a half game out. It's a win that you need. You're in first place. All you got to do is just maintain. As dumb as it sounds, the goal is, yes, everybody wants to win the Super Bowl. To get to the Super Bowl, you got to make the playoffs. What's the easiest way to make the playoffs? Win the division. Right now, you're in first place. Wentz did some things that were better than we've seen. I didn't see him completely turn the corner. But maybe all it takes is one win to get his biggest thing. I said he was questionable about his passes. How many times he's pump faking. You know, you don't know how wide open the receivers or lack of receivers are at the time when he's doing these pump fakes. But it's a confidence thing, whether it's his arm, whether it's confidence in his receivers, whether it's confidence in his offensive line. It's a confidence thing for him. So being able to squeak out that win against what is a playoff team, I mean, it's a confidence booster, all right, which is, I think, the biggest thing. Now you got to build on that. The defense, I mean, look, the Niners put up a big chunk of yards, okay? And, you know, Kittle's an all-pro. So, I mean, look, yes, he exploited, but he's done that to a lot of different teams. And if that's the only weapon you're going to have that one guy put up 180 yards plus out of the 400. Well, you didn't do a good job on him, but you locked everybody else down. If you pull out the win, that's all that really matters. I think the defense came up very timely. You know, they let up a ton of yards, but timely plays, you know, getting pressure on the quarterback, just making them plays when it really meant something. It's definitely a confidence booster. You're in first place, but let's not get too happy. Let's just buckle down, add another win.
Add another win. I like that. And it's a battle of PA, right? It's a battle of PA. They're going to let some fans in the stadium this week in Pittsburgh. You know, I think 6,000, I think I read or something. So, yeah, something like that. So, 500. Yeah, something like that. And, you know, again, it's a stepping stone, right? It's a building block. You know, I think one of the things I'm going to talk about is, you know, Jordan Mailata, I think, played very well. You know, I know he had the false start. I get it. Big deal. The kid hasn't really played. But did you guys hear his press conference afterwards? I mean, how do you not like this guy? I love his accent, number one. And again, here's what I will say. All the people that kill me about Jason Peters and still kill me about Jason Peters. Okay. The reason why I wanted Jason Peters back is exactly what Mailata said. You know, he gave credit to Jason Peters. Again, that is money well spent, because I'm telling you right now, this is a rugby player that just played left tackle on a Sunday night football game. And guess what, fellas? How many sacks did he let up? So, you know, this is what I mean by player coach. I don't care that Jason Peters is not the same guy anymore. What I care about is he is able to pass knowledge on to guys like Jordan Mailata, and I think you're seeing it. I think it worked. Mike, what do you think?
I think that the Peters signing was I think what you're doing right now is you're justifying them bringing him in. You're pulling a silver lining out of it, and that's fine, because you might be right. You know, that's an intangible. He comes in and he's transferring all this knowledge. We have to assume that he's been doing that, though, for the last several years that he's been here, right? So I'm sure they're all learning off of Jason Peters. And because Howie waited, and because he blew the draft, and because he didn't fix the offensive line, you know, Carson Wentz got his back broken, his neck broken, and everything else, and they give him $100 million plus, and they don't put a wall around him. And you bring in Peters at the very last minute because you know your boy goes down with injury. And you know, I think it's terrible. I really do. And I love that he's passing knowledge on, and he should be doing that, but he's done, dude. He's done.
See,
you know, I don't see a rosy scenario out of all this. I'm just going to be the negative Philadelphia fan. Fine, whatever. I'm going to be practical. It's great that he's coming around. I mean, wasn't he a 7th round pick? I mean, it's fantastic for him to have
7th round pick.
Yeah, so it's a great thing that he's panning out. I mean, finally we get somebody from the draft that's panning out. He's good with 7th round picks, isn't he? He picked Jalen Mills, Howie. Forget, I'm just like completely salty on Howie. So,
well, listen, you're not going to hear me defend Howie Roseman. You know that.
I know that.
Right. We're not. We could bury him for an hour and a half. I can tell you that right now.
For sure.
Right. He's the kid who got his lunch money stolen every single day. That's who Howie Roseman is. We know that, right?
Yes.
Yeah. He was the me teacher kid in the class that we couldn't stand. Right. That's who Howie Roseman was, and he's still that guy. right? But Chip Kelly was right. Throw baby in the corner, like we talked about. Throw him in the corner. Let him count the checks. That's all we need him to do. But listen, Mike, I hear you about the silver lining. But what I will say is, I am not justifying it now because this is the same methodology that I took upon this pick months ago. Right. This is what I fought everybody on. So
right.
I get it. Listen, I get it. And it's a 7th-round pick, but I wanted every opportunity to protect Carson. Now, was I disappointed? Yes. I thought he was better than that, right? I don't think he played that well. But at the end of the day, if he's able to do this, this is great. But what I want to talk about is, number one, John, you talked about George Kittle, right? And again, I got into this argument 3 months ago about Zach Ertz, and I talked about it again today because everybody wanted to call Zach Ertz elite. And they're wrong. Zach Ertz is not elite. Okay, I'll argue with everybody till the day I die that Zach Ertz is not an elite football player. He's a very good football player. He's not elite. What you've seen with George Kittle, that's elite. That's an elite talent. Zach Ertz isn't taking over games. George Kittle takes over games, which is why I said last year we should have traded Zach Ertz. Just my opinion, because now you're not going to afford Zach Ertz. And if you are, you're going to overpay. And you can't pay everybody. And now he's not worth what he was last year. You missed the boat again. And everybody's, how can you let him go? Historic numbers. Stop. You drafted Dallas Goedert in order not to have to do this, right? That's what we did.
Maybe, good point. But think about this, all right? And I think you're right from a value perspective and from a dollars and cents perspective. And you would think the little bean counter intern would have figured this out by now, okay? Because it's exactly what he should have been doing, what he should have done. But what I think we're not considering is Wentz and Ertz are really close friends. And when you disrupt the locker room like that, or take a close friend and a weapon, a go-to guy, his safety valve, which, let's just be honest, he has been, with all of the injuries that have been around. We have to be fair to Wentz. Okay. I'm not picking up for Wentz, but I'm just calling it the way that it is. Zach Ertz bailed him out. And if it wasn't for Ertz over the last couple of years, then, you would wonder where the Eagles would be at all. So, in terms of comparing him against Kittle, you're right. Maybe he's not the elite talent, but I think it goes a little bit further to say if they would have traded him, it would have caused more problems than it would have solved.
Yeah, maybe you're right. I mean, that's a good point, and a lot of people brought that up. I get it, but I would just hope that Carson was professional enough to understand that this is a business. But again, we're going to talk about this whole scenario with JT Realmuto and Bryce Harper, kind of the same kind of thing, a little different, but it has a lot of credence of what you said.
Sure,
John. I mean, what do you think? Zach Ertz, is he elite?
I don't know that he's elite right now. Will I say over his career he's been elite? Yes, absolutely. He's not that he's getting old by any means. And yes, I think the drafting of Goddard was a sign that we don't want to pay you. You know what I mean? You are an amazing player. I mean, you want to talk elite. I mean, that's a qualitative term. How many guys are elite? If there's 8 elite guys, if there's 1 elite guy. But, I mean, you have to look at how many receptions he had and how many targets he had over that span and how valuable he was to the passing game, especially when there wasn't much in terms of Carson Wentz to pass to.
Agreed.
He has soft hands. How many times was he hitting them seams? You know what I mean? With them soft hands with 3 guys around him, just pulling in the touchdowns. I mean, the past 3 years, 8 touchdowns, 6 touchdowns. I mean, that says something, having over 800 yards for how many consecutive seasons. Now, you want to say elite? Yes, it's possible that, yes, I like Kittle better. But I almost feel like Ertz 3 years ago, like Ertz had a smaller window.
Right.
When he was at his peak, I feel that he was competing with the Kelsey and the Kittle, but I don't feel that he's at the peak now, whether it's that's the whole offense, whether that's Carson Wentz, whatever it may be. I don't think Zach Ertz is at peak now. I don't think he's going to be at peak again, but for a few years there, yes, I would have called him elite.
But they didn't sign him. And there's what does that say?
Right.
Well, he gave up They tried to, and he kept turning the extension down for 2 years in a row. And Mike, me and you have talked about this guy before, Joe Banner. I'll never forget it. Joe Banner, excellent follow on Twitter. Love following Joe Banner. A lot of the stuff, he says it's fantastic. And when Zach Ertz signed that 5-year deal, he came out and said that will be the worst mistake of Zach Ertz's career, signing that deal, because of the way it was structured. Okay. And Zach Ertz knows that, right? And Zach Ertz now wants to pick up for that. And he's looking at guys like Austin Hooper, who have set the market, which is ridiculous. Austin Hooper got $23 million guaranteed. Are you kidding me? Austin freaking Hooper, right? So now, because Austin Hooper gets that kind of money, what do you think Zach Ertz is going to want to get? Right? His numbers are better than Austin Hooper. Of course. His agents go, yo, hold on. If he got 23, we want 30, right? Just like what Dak Prescott's agents trying to do. So, and you can't do that. I'm sorry. When you're the Philadelphia Eagles and you have so many holes on this team going forward, you can't pay Zach Ertz $25 million. Just can't do it. It's impossible.
I got 2 points, like both on different sides of the coin. I mean, first of all, Richard Rodgers, dude. Richard Rodgers,
the legend of Richard Rodgers.
I'm just saying, if all we got to do is plug in a Richard Rodgers, do we have to pay but even on the flip side, if I'm Zach Ertz and I see this team and I see what's been going on and I see the receiving core and I see the Goddard signing, and okay, I might be boys with Wentz. Are you trying to tell me that there's not 31 other teams out there that have good guys that I could be boys with? I'm going to go get my money. I'm not even going to fight it. I ain't even going to argue it. I'm going to go get my money.
Yeah, I don't think it's about that, though. I agree with you. I just think that maybe they don't want to disrupt the culture. I don't know. They seem to do whatever Wentz wants. And again, we're all guessing. We don't know at the end of the day. We just look at the numbers and we try to compare other deals, and we try to say, well, here's the right value for this guy, and this guy got this amount, so maybe he's waiting for this. I mean, we're all guessing at the end of the day, but it could be cultural. Who knows? But you're right, John. There's a million other people that he could go and hang out with. Maybe it's deeper than that. Who knows?
He
John,
he could go to Chicago with Foles.
Well, remember, you said young. Remember, Zach Ertz is that magic 30 number. Yeah. Okay.
That's the banner. That's the Joe Banner number.
Yes.
Joe Banner would always say that once a player hits 30, I remember him saying that mostly about running backs, but he ran everything from statistical analysis, and they would show that the regression of a running back after they hit 30 was just. It was like night and day, and they ran everything by the numbers, and Banner ran it by the numbers, and he ran a business. And, he taught that to Howie Roseman. Howie Roseman was really good at that also. I mean, the Eagles never had salary cap problems. They were always really good at signing players to, undervalued contracts by building in what they would be worth in 3 years. Banner, like Howie was an extension of Banner in that regard. It's a catastrophe in the draft, but he was very good at doing that, at least.
Yeah, at least he learned something, right? At least he learned something, and that's what we have to take away from him, right? He learned something. But going forward, we're obviously going to get some guys back from injury. I don't know how long Goddard's going to be out. I don't know what the deal is with Alshon Jeffrey. I'm not saying Alshon, but Alshon Jeffrey's a guy who can catch a ball, right? I mean, let's face it. I mean, but what is Doug Peterson doing when we're sitting there watching the fourth quarter? And you're trying to win a game, and you're throwing these stupid reverses, and right, and you got Killings Jr. in there, who's back to being a SEPTA driver this week.
Yeah, what are you doing, really?
Right? And Miles Sanders gets 13 carries. Like I don't understand. You're running a Boston Scott. Like what is going on with the?
Is Miles Sanders? I think it was Marcus Hayes that wrote something about Sanders having fatigue issues. Well, yeah, and I think it was him that wrote that, or I read it somewhere else. I'm pretty sure it was him, but I don't know. I mean, that's a major problem if that's the case. But I agree with you. It seems like he's back to that. Like, remember now, Peterson coached under Andy Reid, and Andy Reid was famous for doing that. As soon as Shady would get rolling, he would just stop running the ball. right?
Here goes
they threw
Deion
a couple
Lewis.
they go to Deion Lewis. Exactly, right? So is Peterson doing the same thing Reed used to do? I mean, Shady would be rolling. And even go back to the couple of screen passes they threw to Sanders reminded me of the Shady screen passes that we would have, and they would just dominate. And I was wondering why they couldn't stop that, and used it a couple of times, and then that was it. I don't know.
I'm lost. I'm lost for that. And you are right. Marcus did say that, and it was him and Jason Peters both. He said were suffering from fatigue in that game, which was week 3.
Right.
So you're right. And maybe Doug thought. I don't know. All I know is if I'm trying to win a game, a must-win game, I want the ball in the hands of my best playmakers, and that guy is Miles Sanders. It's not Boston Scott. It's not Killings Jr. It's not Corey Clement. It's neither of those guys. It's Miles Sanders. So, that's the one thing I didn't understand. The other thing I will say is Carson Wentz still a little erratic. I get it. But rushed for over 60 yards. And this is something I think going forward that needs to happen. This is something that we need to see more of out of Carson Wentz if we want to get back to any kind of prominence. And I'll tell you, Washington, they stink. Right? They do. They stink, but they're learning, right? It's a rebuilding year. We knew that was going to happen. The Giants, wow, has Jason Garrett just destroyed that offensive system. I can't believe it because last year, Daniel Jones looked really good. That offense looked decent. This year, they can't buy a pass, can't buy a first down. They look horrible. I have no idea what's going on. So
it's just Jason Garrett.
It's got to be Garrett. That's the one difference is Jason Garrett.
What does this guy have on somebody high up in the NFL that he keeps getting jobs and keeps getting paychecks and salaries? This guy stunk as a quarterback. He stunk as a head coach. He stinks as a coordinator. What is it with this guy? He must be like the nicest guy on earth. He must be a great guy to hang out with or something.
Him and Adam Gase need to get like a financial planning company that just says we will build wealth for you.
We will stack your accounts. Stack.
We will make money and be terrible.
We don't have to perform. We just take in millions of dollars and we do absolutely nothing. In fact, we'll probably leave the product or the team in much worse shape than it was when we took it over.
Let's throw Dan Quinn into that scenario as well, because
I heard his presser today. Wow.
Yeah, he's stealing money.
No, it's just grand larceny.
I mean, finally, Bill O'Brien, Houston caught on, got rid of that stiff. Right? I mean, he trades away the best offensive player they have.
Destroyed that team.
He destroyed
it. He destroyed that team.
And now he's gone. Right? Now it's gone.
But why do that? When you think, I know we're going off another tangent, but
that's okay.
But why do that? Why trade away DeAndre Hopkins? What are you doing? And the trade was so bad. Nobody ever said that was a good trade. Right
no.
Now the guy's not even here, and I think it was Stephen A. this morning that I was listening to him. He had dropped a quick little video and said something like, "Well, you're gonna get rid of the coach, but I think they left a lot of the supporting cast in that was with O'Brien. So instead of cleaning house, they get rid of him mid-season. Everybody else is still there. Like if you're trying to change the culture and you're trying to change the leadership, and I get it, it's mid-season. That can't be an easy thing to do. So I guess that by them getting rid of him, when we don't know what happened, but that was definitely a statement. They were trying to send a signal. That's for sure.
And who takes over? If Romeo Crennel.
Another survivor.
Right?
Another retread. Another one of these guys. He's just unbelievable.
It's crazy, man. It's absolutely crazy. Romeo Crennel again. And Molly checking in saying you could add Mike McCarthy to that list too.
It's a great point, Molly. Yeah. I heard Keyshawn Johnson was saying that they should fire him immediately. What is
going on out there?
Oh, that defense is. I don't think they. I think they don't want to play. Like how bad? Did you ever see such a bad defense before? It's horrible.
All I gotta say is,
what is that?
Do you see how happy Aaron Rodgers is nowadays? It's not just a 4-0 start; it's the bye-bye Mike McCarthy.
Poor Mike McCarthy, man. Mike McCarthy. I mean, dude's got a ring, and we can't. Nobody can stand him, right? But I'll tell you what. This is his MO. He just throws the ball. That's all he does. I mean, I've talked about this before. I knew this, and from a fantasy standpoint, I was like, Dak Prescott is going to be a fantasy MVP this year because all they're going to do is throw the hell out of the ball. Because I think the highest rated offensive rushing number that Mike McCarthy had was 28th, right? Because they never ran the ball in Green Bay under McCarthy. But the problem is defense is getting shredded. Absolutely shredded,
destroyed.
I mean, like seriously, like it's
just unbelievable. It was so great seeing seeing Cleveland step all over them.
I loved it.
I loved it too. I mean, we loved it because it was the Cowboys, right? We sort of all, I think, sort of root for the underdog, and Cleveland's always the underdog, and they got all these stacked weapons, and maybe they're getting their act together, but it was really nice to see them light up the Cowboys. That was great. It was, and I'll tell you what was nice to see, but really sucked to see, was again another receiver, CeeDee Lamb, going off, and guys, we are going to have to see this for the next 10 years. Okay, that's what kills me. Right, John. In your Pittsburgh days, you ever think of another guy that you had to see for like the next 5 years that should have been on your team? I mean, you know what I mean? Like this is what we have to watch now. Real quick, John. Let me interrupt here real quick before you get started. Your answer, John, is no, because Pittsburgh always finds the best undervalued receivers. That's all I wanted to say.
That is true.
We're the team with the receivers.
That is right, man.
Listen,
they do.
When you play in a division with the Browns and the Bungles, I mean, you really don't have much to compete with.
That is true. That is true. But I'll tell you what, man. You talk about the Browns, even though the Dallas defense was Swiss cheese, okay? One thing for sure, they're starting to buy into Stefanski's system out there in Cleveland. You see it. And good for Kevin Stefanski, what he did, because I love me some Odell Beckham Jr. And I'll tell you what, right? Even if you got to get the ball, he's a playmaker. You got to get it in his hand. And he did everything he could to make him the focal point of that offense. And that is why when everybody said, just get rid of OBJ, hey, bring him. I'll take him in Philly. You want to, I'll take OBJ. Gladly. Right? He is phenomenal. Phenomenal, right? And then, let's stay on the wide receiver thing. I got to look at Justin Jefferson in Miami. Right, just blowing up. This goes right back to Howie again. It's just super frustrating, man, because they were both there. Yes, they were just there. Now, look again. Let's give Rieger the benefit of the doubt. We have no idea what he can do. We don't know what he can do.
Jefferson was supposed to be the pick. I mean, going into the draft, that was going to be the guy. When they drafted the receiver, it was the shocker that it wasn't Jefferson.
It was, and it's like it was they're always the smartest people in the room, and it turns out they're the dumbest again. So I hate to say anything about Rieger. Maybe he's unbelievable, but going by past practices and JJ Arcega Whiteside and Freddie Mitchell and every other stiff that we took was supposed to be great. Think about the stiff Nay Brown. Oh. Nate Brown, Chris T. Jones. Oh, there's so many of them. It's endless. It is, and we never hit on any of them. Our receivers always suck. They always suck. Always, except T.O. T.O. was great. Right, and because we didn't draft them. No, of course not. Of course not. When is the last time we drafted? Well, we drafted Deshaun Jackson. Andy Reid did. Yes. That panned out. That did. And we drafted. Who was the guy that was on the other side of Deshaun Jackson? 2 years later, we drafted him. His name is on the tip of my tongue. Jeremy Macklin. Jeremy Macklin was okay. He wasn't Deshaun Jackson. Macklin was good. Macklin was good. He was solid. Who was that on it? Who was that on? Out of Cal. Oh, yeah, out of Cal.
I couldn't think of his name, but I knew he was out of Cal.
Yeah. So we have not. Yeah, Rick just checked in and said Macklin. Thank you, Rick. Yeah, I think that was number 19 too. I think we took him 19th. It was right before Detroit, if I'm not mistaken, when we took him, and that was the pick. That was the pick. I mean, we just can't get it right, man. We just can't, and it's super frustrating
right? It's true because if you look at, and you know what, let me say something about Rager. Okay, Jalen, do me a favor, like. These athletes kill me, right? Right away, he wants to jump on Twitter and start calling out fans and saying, I listen, dude, bro. Let me just tell you something. You got to stop with the Twitter games, man. This is what you do. If you think you're that good and you want to, you go on the field when you get healthy and you just ball out. That's all. Just ball out, and you don't need to go on Twitter and act tough. Okay, stop with all that nonsense. I get so annoyed with that. Right? So annoying. It's ridiculous. So, yeah, you know what, Mike? You're right. Jalen Reagor could be the next coming. I don't know.
And if he comes out in balls, you're right. If he comes out and he balls, Jalen, everyone in the city of Philadelphia will embrace you and love you.
Yes.
We have not had that type of receiver since Terrell Owens, who, when he first stepped into the city, he was embraced. I mean, it was all love. And I'll never forget that game that I was at against the Giants, when he scored 3 touchdowns, and Terrell Owens was actually trying to figure out how to get to the stadium, and he was lost, and he got a police escort because they needed him to get to the stadium. You know, that's the love that Philadelphia shows, and of course that drove McNabb crazy because he was like super jealous of T.O. because the city just embraced. But Jalen Reagor, if you're listening to this and you follow that playbook, it'll be all love. Could you imagine Terrell Owens if he had Twitter back then?
Oh my God, man!
That would have been great.
Oh, would have been fantastic.
He would have been on the streets with AB.
Yeah,
no question.
Oh my God, you're right, man. AB.
You know who else would have been? Michael Irvin. I'll bet you Michael Irvin would have been. He would have been in the same boat. You know what I mean? It's one thing, but when you had that personality back in the day, and just that wide receiver personality. You have that back in the day, and it's like there's no, okay, there wasn't even like press conferences to the level that we have them now, and like the TV, like all the airtime, man. Oh yeah, they would have.
To imagine,
they were all crazy.
Michael Irvin, wow.
Chad Ochocinco, he was.
Oh, he's another one.
He was another one. Yeah, they were all a little off. But going back to AB, let me throw this at you. Would you take AB right now? I would totally do it.
I'm telling you, I would still take him. I really would, man. I really would. I would take him because you know what? I think honestly that I think that if in the right system with the right culture, no matter what, I think he's going to help. He really is. I really feel though he still has that. He still has that. John, he's your guy. He's black and gold. Would you take AB?
Yeah, I mean, he ain't coming back this way. I mean, that's what it is. Hey, look, I haven't heard a lot on Twitter with him. He needs to turn his life around, period. With everything that he's done, there's never been a question of his talent.
Yeah.
But his everything that he did off the field, and then that bleeding into the things that he did in the locker room and which is considered on the field, or just in the cult. You talked about culture with Ertz and Wentz. I mean, look, no question he could put up stats, but he would have to turn everything around. I mean, the dude got an 8-game suspension before he even gets signed. There's no question he can take a team to the playoffs. There's no question he could be a number 1 receiver in the league. Question is, can he keep his nose clean, out of trouble, and out of trouble with whether it's the cops, his ex-wife, or whatever it is.
No, forget it.
The head coach. You know what I mean? Or who'd he punch in I mean, think about it. He
punched a police officer, didn't he, or something? He attacked a police officer or something. I don't know.
He went nose with Mike, the dude for the GM.
Yeah, Mike. What's his face? The
from NFL
guy.
Network.
Yeah. Well, yeah. He got ousted out of Pittsburgh. Declined to trade to Buffalo. Went to Oakland. Punched the GM or whatever, or tried to punch him. Who knows? Finally gets signed by New England. Plays a game. Everybody thinks that, oh my goodness, here's New England again, getting the best. Well, he lasted a week. Got kicked to the curb again. So.
Yeah, I mean, how do you go after Mike Mayock? Seriously,
stop. That's like who did Latrell Sprewell try to choke? Who was that?
Oh, that was PJ Carlissimo. Yeah, poor PJ was just trying to get the guy right, and he tried to choke him out. Right?
Choke him out.
I mean, Matt Jackson says, couldn't agree more. In Philly, shut your mouth and produce. Because if you run your mouth and struggle, it will end real badly for you. Absolutely. You're just opening yourself up to something you don't need to, man. I say all the time, just please. That's why I kept talking about Joel, man. Joel, please do me a favor. Shut up, man. Seriously. Shut up with all the stuff on Instagram. Just go out and play, man. Stop. I mean, it just you don't buy into any of it. It's all nonsense, right? If you go out and play, we love you. Simple as that.
Yeah, but the problem is we're cut from another generation. I mean, that's the first thing they do. It's where they get all their news. It's where everybody does everything. It's where the whole world basically interacts. So for us to say, don't go on Twitter or don't go on Instagram or don't try to be a tough guy or whatever, I mean, they're just going to have to learn this the hard way.
No, you're right. You're right. So let's get into this before we flip over to the Sixers, because we got to start talking about a little basketball because, my man Doc, don't call me Doc, says call me Glenn, which is why I love me some Glenn Doc Rivers. John, predictions this week. Go right to you because you're right in between the PA battle. Who wins this game and what you got for a score? Come on.
Wow.
Give me something here.
You're on the spot, John.
Yeah,
I am on the spot. I wasn't prepared for a prediction.
That's okay. But that's the best part.
We are in Pittsburgh. We do have some fans. We have everybody healthy for the most part. I mean, I see a 27 spot going up for the Steelers, and I don't see more than 24 for the Eagles. I'm going to go 27-17, black and gold.
I listen. I dig it. I get it. Mike, you're up.
It's so hard to say because you just don't know what's going to happen, right? Let's just give a quick little recap by saying that Wentz did exactly what he needed to do to win, right? And Tone, you touched on something earlier. You said, look, by him running, that's exactly what he needs to do, because when he ran, all kinds of things happen, right? And that's when he made his best plays. But remember, when he got hurt, everybody was yelling that he shouldn't run, that Peterson needs to coach him out of it, that he needs to learn how to take a hit. Real quick, has he learned how to take a hit? No. He's still lowering his shoulder. He's still going straight into safeties and linebackers. And eventually, if that continues, he's going to get hurt. We all know the ending result of that. I hope that doesn't happen, but he's trying to play hard. He wants to win. You know that he wants to win. It's not about that. No doubt. I was really, really tough on him last week. And look, I still think that although it's a step in the right direction, and as John said, it's a really good momentum builder, I think that momentum is going to end, and I think they're going to get spanked. I don't know. 21, yeah, I think spanked, like 21-7 or something.
Wow, I'll tell you, man. Listen,
I hate to say that.
I hate to say it too, but I kind of agree, man. Listen, you go out against the 49ers who are playing with nobody, no Richard Sherman, no Bosa, right? You're playing against Nick Mullins, CJ Beathard,
and CJ.
Right, and CJ Beathard. And you barely sneak out a win. Right. So, but now you got to go to Pittsburgh and you got to face Mike Tomlin. You got to face Bud Dupree. Right. You got to face Joe Hayden, Minka Fitzpatrick. Come on. Seriously? I don't see
you forgot the number one on the defense.
Who?
TJ Watt.
Well, TJ Watt. I'm so always forgetting about TJ Watt.
That's why I put it on. I figured.
I'm looking right at it. I'm an idiot, man.
I missed that too.
All you see is.
I see the clock. Like Andre's not checking it.
The clock that's not. Yeah, the clock that's not a clock.
Yeah, I'm with you, Mike. I'm with you. I hate to say it, but I'm looking. I'm going to say 31-10. Right? It says 31-10. I don't see them getting out to win. I just don't see it. I don't. But before we end, I'm going to throw this trivia question up there for you guys, for everybody. See if anybody can get this throughout the show. Rick checking in 31-10 Steelers. So he's right with us, man.
Yep.
I think you're on the money there, Rick.
Yeah, he's right with us. So here's a good Eagles trivia question. Which cornerback's 96-yard fumble return touchdown versus Dallas in 2008 was the second longest in franchise history? So think about that for a little bit. while we go on. We're going to move on to some Sixers talk, but and eventually I am working on. I got a couple sponsors lined up. We'll have some giveaways for these trivia questions as well coming up. So see if anybody can get this without Googling. Don't make it easy. But I know the answer obviously because I picked the question. But
I think I know it.
Yeah. So let's see, and then we'll come back to this and see if anybody can get it. But we had another changing of the cards this week in Philadelphia, and listen, it's simple. Sixers get Doc, right? This is something that had to happen, right? It had to happen. You have to turn this franchise around, and I'll tell you what. I don't know if you guys seen the press conference. But when you watch it and you listen to Doc Rivers speak, he just personifies respect. He personifies what an NBA coach is supposed to be. No disrespect to Brett Brown, but Brett wasn't it. Right? Doc is the guy. He commands a respect. You already got guys declining phone calls from other teams wanting to talk to Doc first about the Sixers. This is what he brings, okay? So listen to Doc real fast. This is what I took from his press conference. And again, it's a quick 30 seconds, but just hearing what he says, it just says all right here.
Next, we're going to go to Howard Eskin with WIP.
Doc, you've talked about players kind of doing some things that would take to win. Brett Brown tried to get Ben Simmons to shoot a three. Okay, I'll live without that. However, what do you do to get him to just shoot a 15-foot jump shot? How do you approach that?
Howard, I don't know yet. I'm not that concerned by it like everyone else is. I really am not. I'm concerned about figuring out the best way to win. And how that, if it takes doing all that, then we're going to figure that out. Again, I'm so much more concerned about team scoring than I am about individual scoring. Individuals can create scoring, right? And Ben has proven that he is a guy that can create scoring, whether that's him doing it or him creating scoring for anyone else on the team. But this is what I know about Ben. He's an all-star. He's an all-defensive player. In the games that him and Joel have played together, they win 65% of the time. So I don't see a lot of bad there. I'm sure. Listen, he's young, and I'm sure there's things that we're going to work on and get him better at, attacking. But I can't tell you yet how I'm going to do that. I just have confidence that we can get this team into a winning and being the winner.
First of all, Howard Eskin, such a slime ball, isn't he? Like, Howard Eskin asked that question just hoping to get, like, he thought he was going to be, hey, I'm going to ask this question about Ben Simmons shooting and see what he says. Right? First of all, just so professional. Doc saying, yo, listen, I could care less about Ben shooting the ball. I'm talking about everybody scoring here. This ain't just coming from Ben. And this is what you get. And this is what I've been saying so long ago. Ben Simmons is a playmaker, whether it be from shooting the ball or passing the ball. The problem is he didn't really have anybody to pass to knock down the open shots, right? So that's the issue. But Doc Rivers right there, you can just tell. Listen, he knows what he's going to do. He already knows, man. He already knows what he's going to do. That's what's great. He already has in his mind. If you heard him, he said that he knew right off the bat that this was the team to go to and what he could do. Listen, 65% of the time. I didn't know that. I don't know if you guys knew that, but he said that they win 65% of the time when those two guys are on the court together, which he's going to bring that to 80 to 85%. That's his goal. So, Mike, what do you think about Doc Rivers coming here to Philadelphia?
Well, I like it, but he's really the best option. And you have young kids. That's what they are, and he's the best option to sort of get these kids to play like grown-ups. So I do like it. I do like that he is a proven winner, and it'll bring stability to the franchise. But the flip side of that is, I think he's got I think he's got a real challenge in front of him, and his press conference and what he said was complete BS. I don't believe any of it. He just got a big fat contract. I mean, what is he going to say? And I know people give
what don't you believe?
Well, I like that he doesn't, well, I'm not really concerned about it. You're not really concerned about Ben Simmons not being able to take a 15-foot jump shot?
I'm not.
Really? I know you're not, but I know that he is, because Doc Rivers is old school, man. I know that he is. I know that that's bothering him. I really believe that. And again, Ben Simmons is a different type of player. He doesn't have to rely on that jump shot. Ben Simmons does things that a lot of people cannot do, or maybe a couple of people in the league. If that, he may even be the only one with the way that he plays and the way that he opens up different things for the offense. I get all that, but I don't believe when he says that he's not concerned about it. He may have an idea that nobody's tried before to get the kid a little bit more confidence, or to unlock something, or at least to I'm sure he has some kind of a plan coming in. He's not going to accept the job not coming in. But, and I know everybody gives Howard Eskin a lot of crap, right? I like that he asked that question. He tried to catch him off guard. That was Howard Eskin's way of saying, welcome to Philadelphia, because it isn't going to be easy here, and you're going to earn every dollar of your contract. I like that. That's Philly style.
No, it is. And listen, I will give guys like Howard Eskin and Mike Missinelli and Anto Cataldi a lot of respect because they've been in the game. Listen, you don't stick around for 20 plus years in Philly sports media without being good, right? Listen, it's as simple as that. I don't have to sugarcoat. You're not good, you're not here. Simple as that. But I just love it that Eskin thought that he was going to get Doc Rivers off his game, and he didn't.
He tried to rattle him. He tried. Yeah.
Come on, this ain't Brett Brown up there, man. This ain't Billy Donovan. It's Doc Rivers. Doc, don't call me Doc, he said. Call me Glenn. Actually told the broadcast team already, I do not deserve to be called Doc in a town who already has a doctor. Call me Glenn.
That's respect.
I love that. Yeah, I love that.
He ain't Doug Moe, that's for sure.
I just want to say that
is he on the stiff list later? Doug Moe?
He might be.
I got some good ones. Go ahead, John.
No, just what you said with Musinelli and Eskin and those guys.
Yeah,
and Cataldi. That is Philly sports
for sure.
They are Phillies. The way they handle their business is the way Philadelphia handles their business.
That's right
for sports. 100%.
Oh, 100%. And those guys are the voice. They're the voice of the everyday frustrated Philadelphia fan.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's how they resonate and they connect with the frustrated Philadelphia fan. You're not going to get a pass here. In Philly, we know what's going on. We understand the games. We understand the sports. We get the rules, and we're not just. We pay attention. We care, right? So, getting asked a hard question, I'm okay with that, but he did it because he's Howard Eskin, and that's just what Howard Eskin does, right? But I like the fact that Doc showed some respect, and I do think that he's going to bring some stability to the franchise. Will he take them and win it all? I mean, I don't know. Basketball isn't my number one sport. I have to be honest with you, I don't really pay that much attention to it. I do pay attention to the Sixers, and I really get into it when the playoffs are when it's playoff time, but that's about it. But I mean, the Sixers tone to me, and I don't know about you, John, I don't know how much you follow them, but they've just frustrated me over the years. The leadership has frustrated me. The same old stuff. I feel like there were so many times where they had every piece where, you really thought that they could go all the way. And then, you ran into the Celtics, and then you ran into Al Horford, and Al Horford just dominated Embiid, and Embiid spent more time on Twitter than he did work in his game to get past Al Horford. And we would all call Al Horford a stiff and this and that. And then they go and they get Al Horford, and they pay him boatloads of money, and they get Al Horford out of the way. And now it looks like a mess.
And the Celtics are they're like, thanks for getting them out of the way. He's a stiff too.
He's a stiff too, right? It's hard to pay attention for me, because it's just a frustrating team. It's a frustrating organization.
It is. Look, it is. It 100% is.
Glenn said everything the right way at the press conference. I mean, look, it's like anybody. You get a new job. You're with a new organization. You say the right things outwardly. And good coaches say the right things outwardly and manage their internal house internally. All right. So that's rule number one. Good job. All right. Look, I completely agree with Rivers that number one goal is to win games. And he's going to pull up stats. Yes. When these two are on the court, they win games X percent of the time, 65. Great. I mean, that's what you say outwardly. Right. But at the same time, I don't think he really cares if Simmons shoots a 15-foot or shoots a three. No, as long as you're winning. when you're losing, what I think the difference between Rivers and Brett Brown is, I can see Rivers laying into somebody because they're not making the right decision and not doing the right thing. And that may be the kick in the butt that these guys need. In terms of the process, what's sad is, I mean, do you guys feel that like the Sixers were closer 2 years ago with the guys that they had? And you still had Embiid and Simmons leading the team, but you had some shooters. And then you get I mean, look, Tony, I know you already talked about our boy Butler, you know what I mean, and how you're rooting for him. But then you look at like what he's doing now. He was here, it was so close, and we couldn't get him to stay. But whoever, I don't want to get into I mean, we don't know whose decision it was, but it was like almost there. And then it was like this year, it was just like a complete debacle. Like, is the process now going in reverse? I mean, I know we got the coach.
That's a good point.
But is the process going in reverse now?
Is there
into a hole with the contracts of 2 players that are in the starting 5? Well, who knows if Al Horford, who we already mentioned, Al Horford kills us. Let's go get him.
I mean, it seemed like a good strategy.
Now.
It seemed like a good strategy at the time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we can't beat him. Let's pull him in and and get him out of the way. But maybe what Jimmy Butler saw, and what we'll never know,
right,
is what was going on in the locker room and the lack of leadership and everything else. I mean, Jimmy Butler was. I mean, he took one look at that, and my guess is, and again, I don't know anything. I'm not in the locker room. I don't know any of these guys, right? But if I had to guess, I would probably say that Simmons and Embiid were just rolling all over Brett Brown and just doing whatever they wanted to do, and they were just getting away with everything. And Butler's like, I'm not dealing with this. This isn't a championship culture. Yep. And he just, he decided to leave, and he left for Miami, and we're all like, yeah, okay, see you later, buddy. Miami's going to be real good. And we all said that.
Yes.
We
all said it.
We all said it.
I got a 2-part question for both of you. One, does Jimmy Butler write a book in 10 to 15 years from now? And 2, do you read it?
Yes and yes.
I would agree with Tony. That's a double yes, John.
Yes. I'm listening. I'm reading. I'm whatever I need to freaking do. I want to listen, man. He's got to get on the Up and Smoke podcast with Steven Jackson. Okay. Like AI did, right? When he call whoever he called out. Okay. I still don't know who that was. Have you guys seen that?
No.
But, yeah, man, listen, AI he was like, looked right in the camera, was like, I hate you, you mother effer. He's just like, he's like, you and your daddy. I don't know who he's like. I have no idea who he was talking about.
It never came out who he was talking about.
Nah, there was some. I'm trying to think of. Somebody said, I'm like, that's not Colangelo. Nothing to do with Colangelo, right? Nothing to do with it.
Nothing.
So it has not. So I don't know who he was talking about, and he was like, "Y'all know who I'm talking." These people, I ain't gonna put his name out there. He said, "But they know who I'm talking about." Trust me when I say this. I'm like, "Damn, okay." And listen, I mean, this is gonna be like Jimmy Butler. That's gonna be the Jimmy Butler story, right? We're gonna find out exactly what happened. We're gonna find out exactly, right? And that's make your popcorn, grab a beer, and you listen to that, man. You listen to every word.
It might be that'll be an ESPN 360 or something. You know what I mean? Either that or an Oprah interview
with SVP Scott Van Pelt.
John really hit it. He just said, "Look, we were very close," and it was heartbreaking because everybody was on. Like everybody was really dialed into the Sixers. I mean, it was a great year. JJ Redick firing threes everywhere. I mean, they just had a nice little tight squad, and they put it all together, and everybody was just really happy with Elton Brand. It was everything, and then all of a sudden, it just crumbled. And Jimmy Butler was the first one out. He was the first one to run out before the fire. I mean, okay, bad example, but you know what I mean. He got out of Dodge first.
Well, 100%, 100%.
The craziest part was, you look at them when they first came up, it was like, oh, they made the playoffs. You didn't really expect that. Like we were expecting that the next year, and they started making noise. Then you get Jimmy Butler and you make it all the way to Toronto. And you're like, wow, I mean, that's good, but I don't know that I quite expected that this early. And yeah, crumble or cliff or whatever it was, Jimmy Butler leaves and bad contracts, and man, is it a heck of a difference from 2 years earlier, 1 year earlier. It's a killer. And
we went all in, man. That's what happened, right? So the process of Mike checking in as always, those contracts wouldn't have worked this year. Says I wish we would have kept that team with more time, and this is what happened, right? We set the Sam Hinkie set the process up. They give you ultimate draft capital and ultimate cash value to say this is what you can do, and they gave it to Elton. Well, they didn't give it to Elton Brand. They gave it to Brian Colangelo.
Colangelo had it first,
right? Who ruined
Mr. Twitter?
Yeah, Mr. Burner Phone, thinking he's Weebay from The Wire, right? But at the end of the day, right? But at the end of the day, he's the one who screwed this whole thing up.
Yeah,
right. With the simple trade for Markelle Fultz, right? Think about it. This is where the train came off the rails, right there, right? Because then it turned into, we don't need Mikal Bridges. We'll trade him for Zaire Smith, who can't play, right? So there's another guy who can't, another wasted pick, right? So it was a domino effect, and then they're like, okay, we're gonna go get Tobias Harris. So okay, I'm good with that, right? I like Tobias Harris. I didn't know he was so damn soft, and I hope that Doc Rivers can actually toughen him up again.
I mean, you thought when they gave him a max contract that he was worth that money?
Here's what I thought. And I'll tell you this, and I quote myself as saying this. What I hoped, right? Tobias Harris averaged 24 points per game with LA, with the Clips, okay, under Doc Rivers. When he came here, he struggled a little bit trying to fit in. So my hope was, now obviously we all know what's that.
That was understandable, though. Right?
Absolutely. I mean, listen, this is 14, Mike, in 3 years.
Yeah.
It's crazy, right?
For sure.
That normally doesn't happen to people. So when you looked at it, Jimmy left. So the saving face was they had to pay Tobias in their mind, because they were going to say, right, there's two guys. We can't trade for two guys. Let them both walk, right? We need something. So my hope was that Tobias Harris turned into Bradley Beal. And the reason why I say that is Bradley Beal was a 20-point scorer, right? But when he got that max contract and everybody said he's not worth it, he upped his game to that 24, 26 point.
Yes.
So I was like, you know what? Tobias can be that guy. It's kind of the same kind of game. He just never worked. I don't know if it's, again, Mike, you taught a culture. Could be culture. You never know what's going on inside that locker room. We have no idea. One thing's for sure, John, you scared me to make a great point. I hope that we are not backtracking the process, right? That's a bad thing. We've come too far to go back. And I think that's why this move is tremendous, because this was the move you had to make. Whether it works or not, this is the only move, right? Because it was going to be, I'm telling you, boys, it was going to be D'Antoni. Guarantee it. I'm telling you right now, the coach was going to be Mike D'Antoni until Doc Rivers was let go by the Clips. And that would have been bad. That would have been bad. We would have been a dumpster fire.
Well, we talked about this before. There's only a handful of people, right, no matter what sport it is, that could be able to manage, high-profile professional athletes, young kids that are worth millions and millions of dollars, in order to get these people all together to fight for the same goal, right? It's hard. It's must be really difficult to be able to do that. So, I mean, when you think about these retreads, it's like there's only a small pool. And unless you bring up somebody that's an assistant, right? That's untested, right? And I don't want to kind of bring it back to football, but it's a point that I wanted to make when we talked about O'Brien getting the boot. Was Eric Bieniemy would have been I think he's a perfect replacement, and those are the guys that I feel that they may not be able to handle. If they don't know how to delegate, they're dead in the water. Because you always know when we talk about that, right? The assistants that come up, they try to be head coaches, but they focus in on one thing into their comfort zone, which is what they know how to do, and the rest of the team sort of falls apart. If they know how to delegate and they know how to set responsibility for each one of these supporting coaches, then they could be really good. So, I think that Bieniemy would be a very, very good choice. But in terms of hopefully he'll know how to delegate. But going back to basketball, I wanted to make that point really quick.
It's a good call though. Just like Mike says, great call. I completely agree.
I think, I think Rivers. He was obviously he was the best choice, and he sort of fell into our lap. And it could be a lot worse. It could be D'Antoni, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
It could be a lot worse.
Exactly.
I think Rivers was the right choice. And you talked about the Tobias Harris max contract signing, save face. You got two studs. You got to get one of them. Butler was not staying. You get him. But the missing piece that we haven't talked about was Josh Richardson, which was the kickback.
Oh yeah.
From Jimmy Butler, that you're thinking like, well, wait, we're getting Josh Harrison too, which if that pans out and you look at what the ceiling is, Embiid and Simmons is still a good, base, like no question. Right. And then Tobias could peak and you get Josh Richardson to peak, but they're all individual, I think, good moves or decent moves. I don't think Tobias Harris was ever worth the money that he got, but it was something that you kind of had to do anyway. So I'm not, it is what it is, but the shooting, which we all know is the biggest problem. It's like you can take X number of individual pieces, but if you got the same type of guy or you have things that just don't fit together, because basketball still is a team sport. You can have a guy take over, but basketball still is a team sport. And if you know that you don't have to worry about Embiid underneath because he's out shooting threes, you don't have to worry about Simmons out in the perimeter or in the arc because he's not shooting threes. It's like, okay, Embiid's going to go out. Simmons is going to try to drive to the lane. Right. How predictable can our offense get? So you need to be a little smarter, and hopefully Glenn, don't call me or cry me a river, can be that guy. Put a little kick in the behind of the guys that are actually out there doing it. And, all is not lost. We put a lot of blame on Brett Brown. There is a core here, and this is a core that should be a top 4 seed in the East or West every year.
Yeah.
Tobias, Richardson, Simmons, Embiid, Doc. Look, I'm not saying that they don't need something else to get to the finals, but at the same time, it's there. So let's get this to gel. Let's get this to mesh. Let's get our heads straight, because this was not a positive year for the Sixers. And, that is up to the coach to start instilling some of this fire and this drive, and hopefully he could get the pieces to fit.
A good point. And I think that because he's here, though, maybe we'll attract some free agents that'll want to come and play for Rivers, So now you do have a good core, like you said, John, and it could open it up for other players to want to come in. So I'm curious to see who they're going to bring in.
One thing for sure is, I will say before we move on real fast to the dumpster fire to Phillies, but one thing I will say is Doc Rivers didn't even decide to look anywhere else.
It's Glenn.
Right. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. Glenn Rivers. We'll call him Glenn. It's funny. Back when he was with the Hawks, every time I heard an announcer call him Glenn, I'm like, who the hell is Glenn Rivers? Like, I didn't realize who they were talking about. Right. But no, listen, he decided not even to look elsewhere. He knew right there. He said in his press conference, 3 teams called, Sixers being one of them, but he knew this was where he needed to be. So that says a lot of what you're saying, John, to say, listen, their core is here. We get it. So, listen, most historic offseason franchise history. I'll say it again. And this was an historic move. And let's just hope this works out. Now, on the flip side, when we go across the street, okay, this is good. Listen, I don't want to harp on this, right? But we have to talk about it, okay, before we get to our all-time stiff list. Okay, but what I will say, last thing, Mike checking in, we'll see how Glenn adapts and is able to work with the team with guideline stuff. You're right. We'll see. But what I will tell you, Mike, is I think being the guy that he is helps people just buy in right off the bat. It's not like, you know what? Here's an assistant coach coming in. That's the guy who's won. So I'm sure that's going to work out, in my opinion. So we got to talk about the Phillies here because, again, I just went through. I don't even know what to say today. When I see Bryce Harper post a picture wearing a JT Realmuto jersey,
he needs to stop.
Right. You know what, though? No. Here's the problem.
That's getting on my nerves.
But he shouldn't even have to start, though, Mike.
Shut up. You got $300 million. Stop now.
Yeah, but why? You got $300 million. Why? You were lied to by the organization, right? If you let JT Realmuto walk, that's a lie. And I'm demanding a trade that day. I'm saying, you know what? Let's get the trade talks now. I want to go somewhere else. That's what I'm saying, because you can't build a winner like this. Did you hear Middleton talk about revenue? Are you kidding me, dude? You're worth $5.4 billion friggin' dollars. Okay? Stop. Right now, you can't. Listen, you're right. Ready? I wrote this because I'm dead serious. I'm sweating even thinking about it right now. John, not ready. You ain't ready for prime time, John. You're not ready for prime time. You came out with the big balls, right? I'm going to spend stupid money. Yeah, well, guess what? You ain't spent stupid money. Okay, you don't come out with that statement and backtrack and not spend it. Okay, this is the guy you spend it on. You don't let the best catcher in baseball walk. You don't do it. And you don't come up and start laying the groundwork by saying revenue. Oh, we don't know what the revenue is going to. Stop it. They just signed Mookie Betts for $400 million in LA. Did they give a shit about revenue? No. They knew that they had one of the best players in baseball, and they had to sign it because they wanted to win. So guess what, bro? If you want to commit the win in this town, okay, write the check, shut your mouth, get off the podium, okay, hire somebody who could do a job, and you finally got rid of that stiff Klentak, okay, but here's the thing. You reassigned them. Okay, you know what that means, Mike? That means that process, I dare say process, is still in place with McPhail and Klentak. It's still there. He didn't even have the balls to kick them to the curb. He's reassigning them. So you know what, John? He came up real small. Okay, John, get off the commercials talking about how you're running charity events for Philadelphia. Go dye your hair again. Get a new rag or get a new rug, whatever the hell you want to call it. Okay, I'm done with Middleton. 100%. I said my piece. I'm done. Mike, you're up.
Okay. All right. So tell us how you really feel, Jigsaw. Let's hear it.
I can't, man. It pisses me off. I can't do it. I just can't do it with this guy. I'm done with him.
All right. So look, my position last week on Harper was I was happy he was showing a little flex, but I'm the biggest flip-flopper. My position last week will be totally driven and changed by the emotions of this week. So I hope nobody here listens to anything I have to say, okay, or takes it seriously. Right, because I'm just your typical Philadelphia fan that's all over the place. This week I don't like what Harper's doing. Next week he'll be great. But let's go into Mr. Stupid Money. Here's what I think happened. Now, again, this is just my perspective. Who knows? But this is what I think. I think he thought that by writing stupid money and saying stupid money, he got Bryce Harper, he would be able to build off of that, right? He swallowed a big nut. That's huge, man. I mean, think about that. What they paid Harper, that's a big, big anchor. And I know he said it. They obviously had the funds to back it up, and they did it. But when they're running the Phillies from a profit and loss perspective, regardless of what the guy's worth, they still have a financial model for that organization that they need to run with, okay? So what they probably did was they said, you know what? We'll suck up the Harper first year or whatever, second year, whatever year he's in, and then we'll deal with Realmuto in a year from now. And they kicked the can down the road not to take the immediate lump of the revenue, okay? And they figured that they would deal with it later. And that was the wrong choice. Obviously, we know that it was the wrong choice because it sent a bad message. But what they did was he talked and he said that he was going to do this and do that and do this and do that. Then he was banking on, the next season not being interrupted by COVID and everything else that happened. And then when they lost all the fans and everything was completely thrown into an uproar, his financial model went completely off. And he's like, well, you know what? Now we really, not that they don't have the money, but he didn't want to spend it because he's hoarding it. Look what he said at the press conference. Well, if you talk to the governor or the mayor and you tell me if they're letting fans in, more than what I do. He's frustrated. Nobody says that unless they're frustrated by their business. I can tell, right? I know exactly what's going on in this guy's head. So right now, he's put himself into a really bad hole because he promised Harper, he promised everybody else that he would do what he needs to do, and now he's reneging on that promise and he's going back. So that's what's happening right now, and he's sending a really bad message, and you got Harper pumping all his messages out, and could you imagine what the clubhouse is like? All the players are talking. The culture's completely destroyed. So it doesn't even matter at this point if they do sign him because they already lost the bigger picture and the bigger battle. And I think that's what's happening right now. And, he clearly has no idea what he's doing. I mean, who's who's driving the bus? Nobody knows anything. And they're sending all kinds of conflicting messages right now. So they're a big fugazi. He's a big fake. Everything that he said was a complete lie. And, even the players and everybody see it right now. So, yeah, Harper's sort of caught in the mix. But from the employer perspective, somebody hands you a check at $300 million. Shut up. Shut up.
I love it.
That's a lot of money, dude. That's crazy. Come on, man. Show some respect.
Goose with the financial perspective. It's true, though. I get it. I see what you're saying. I do.
No, John doesn't agree. Go, John. Let's hear it.
No, it's not a respect thing. It's that you brought me here to win a championship. All right. I don't even want to hear stupid money comment. Yes, here, there, no matter what. You brought me here not because you said in a press conference in public that you're going to spend stupid money. You brought me here. You brought JT here. You spent money. You did things, and I'm here. Look, I'm allowed now, whether he does it publicly like he is, this is no different than a Twitter conversation we just had about Michael Irvin as a wide receiver in the Twitter day. No different. This is him doing these things. Look, yes. Everybody has a different,
Minus the 8-ball. Yeah, the 8-ball.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, this is a guy that has a big stake in the team. Bottom line, so call it whether it's a financial stake in their performance. This is what he's doing. This is his career, his legacy. This is where he went to win a championship. I guarantee you Bryce Harper wants to win a championship. Management wants to win a championship. All he's doing is this is his way of telling them, and I guarantee you he told them behind closed doors 50 million times. And if they still aren't re-signing him, if that's his way of continuing to get the point across, I'm completely for it. And I think, yes, you do need to sign JT. You should have signed him. Look, what's in the past is in the past. You can't change. Maybe there was a reason why you didn't sign him. All right, maybe it's starting to get a little nasty because you dragged your heels or whatever. But I don't want to hear about the revenue from attendance. Number one, because his contract is going to be long term. Attendance is going to be back up to full capacity in probably a year, if not 2 years. I'm not saying on April 1st that they're going to have it at full capacity.
Yeah, eventually it's going to come back. Right.
Whatever JT's salary is going to be, let alone you have the Yankees, the Dodgers, and 15 other teams going through the same thing. So your lack of revenue this year is a sunk cost. That doesn't mean that you can't. There's still a championship to be won. There's still TV rights that are out there. There's still memorabilia sales that are not going to go away. Like they may have been paused. So all I'm saying is I don't think the COVID thing has as much to do with it. Now, as to why they didn't sign him earlier, but I feel that Harper has all the reason in the world. I guarantee you they didn't bring him here on that long term of a contract and say, well, we're going to bring JT in for like a year or two. Okay.
No, but you're right. You make a lot of good points. The thing is, he talked when he didn't have the money to back it up, and he thought he would be able to get success in a year or two, and the success would carry him over that would be able to open up the doors to sign to bigger players. But it didn't work out. So you know what that tells me, John? It tells me that they're not running their franchise the way that other franchises are running, and they don't have nearly as much money because what I heard out of that guy's mouth was a frustrated owner. Okay, I can hear what he's talking about. You don't bring that stuff up at a press conference. You don't say, oh, you asked the governor. Like, why are you talking like that? You're running this organization and you're going to talk like that? That's small ball, dude. That's bad. You don't say stuff like that. So to me, he showed all of his cards. And like Tony said, you're not ready for prime time. You talk the talk. Now you can't walk the walk. And now you got your best player really, really upset, which I understand why he's upset. But there's a way to make a point, and then there's a constant nonstop. I just think he's going over the line. I mean, I just think that, look, you made your point. We get it. So, what is he going to do? Tattoo, sign Real Muto on his forehead next? I mean, it's enough. We get the point. But he showed his cards to me and to everybody else, and to just like Tony, he's a complete fraud. He doesn't have nearly as much money. He should have never said that. Now, don't you think? And I said the same thing when A-Rod got popped with the steroids. If A-Rod would have just came out, and he did eventually, but if he just came out and said, or Bonds, sorry, not A-Rod. Bonds came out and said, you know what? I did. Everybody was doing it. I wanted an advantage. I really loved the game of baseball. I felt like in order for me to compete, I should have just did it. People would have just forgiven him, but the fact that he never did that. And if he would have just came out, Middleton, and said, look, I tried. I thought I could put it together. I'm just coming up short. And I hate to put him in this position because we really, really wanted to sign him. And I know I'm going to disappoint a lot of people, but I just don't think we can get it done. Guess what? He would have been respected more. He really would have. Philadelphia loves that.
And here's the thing: you guys both have great points, and I'll one up both of you. And I'll piggyback exactly what you just said, Mike. You know what? This shows you how clueless Middleton is, because he had the ultimate chance to blame this all on Klentak. He had the ultimate chance to say, "Hey, my GM told me, this was the move to make," and he didn't. That's how it shows you how clueless he is. He could have made Klentak the scapegoat, but instead, he reassigns him and keeps him in the organization and makes himself look like a jackass. So it just shows you this guy has no clue what he's doing right now.
It's either that or he's incredibly loyal to him. One or the other. But
I don't know why.
I don't know. Well, who knows? I mean, everybody seems to hold secrets that look at Jason Garrett. Well, there's obviously people are incredibly loyal to him. We don't know what goes on behind the scenes. But yes, you're right. He could have completely cleared his name and threw him under the bus. But then again, by blaming somebody else when you're the owner, that's kind of shallow too. So who knows why he did what he did? One thing's clear: they don't have the money, or if they do, they ain't spending it because they're afraid.
Yes, 100%.
Well, and Mike, just to piggyback off something that you said about the performance. Now, let me ask both of you guys this, and actually, Tony, I'll go to you first.
Oh boy,
here we go. Here we go.
But if the Phillies got to the World Series one of the past 2 years that Bryce Harper was on the team, is Real Muto signed? No question.
If we would have got
because Mike brought up the point of the performance on the field, which is, yes, we signed him 2 years. It should have been there. Didn't happen. Now sour grapes out of my mouth. So what do you think?
I think it's a tough question, because remember, when we signed Bryce Harper, that was the first building block to redirect this franchise. So we already knew that our drafts have been horrendous. We already knew we had no homegrown talent, and we needed more pieces than Bryce Harper. But we knew that he was the main piece. We get this guy. He's the cornerstone of the franchise. And then you build on it, right? Which is why the following year we go out, we draft our best overall prospect for JT Realmuto. And I'll say it again. You don't trade your best prospect for a rental. You never do it. You have to know that day that you are signing this guy long-term, or you don't do the deal. Simple as that. So I don't think it makes a difference, John. I don't, because I don't think there was any way they thought they would get to the World Series just by signing a guy named Bryce Harper. They needed more than just Bryce Harper or Manny Machado, because that's what it was. It was Manny versus Bryce, right? It was year one, we signed Bryce. And I still think they had the eyes on the catcher the following year, which they got. And then they said, okay, then we'll get the pitcher. And they did that methodically. Boom, boom, boom. So now you want to break it up? That's and I think that's where the frustration Mike comes in with Bryce Harper. He's
Right.
saying, "Wait a minute, you know, I came here to coach sucked, right? Gabe Kapler blew. Okay, let's be honest, right? We all knew he blew.
Yeah, he was
Bryce,
terrible.
Right,
Coconut oil, I call him.
Right, it was ridiculous. The guy talking about anal bleaching for Christ's sake.
Moron.
Right, exactly. So I mean, come on. So if Bryce Harper's dad knew this guy was a stiff. 100%. He just didn't say anything. You know, Bryce Harper saying, "Yo, Dad, just let it go. I know this guy's going to be out of here anyway." Right? Bryce Harper never said nothing about Gabe. So he knew he was going to be gone. So now you think about it, right? You get Bryce, you get JT, right? You develop Aaron Nola and sign a pitcher like Wheeler. And now you get the coach in Joe Girardi. It's only the first year. So in Bryce's mind, he's going, wait a minute. We finally have the pieces to finally compete, and now you want to break them up? Makes no sense. Zero. So
There has to be something else. I mean, there always is, right?
Right.
But
there always is.
He came out and said that he wasn't on board with the Sanchez trade. That was throwing, Klentak under the bus a little bit, wasn't it?
Well, you're talking about Middleton?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little bit. You're right. That was a way to say, okay, I got to give him something now to retract, right?
Maybe that was a safe face. But it's like you're going to say that you weren't clear, you weren't really on board. You're going to say that now when everything's falling apart. I mean, this guy is Klentak's probably happy that he got shoved into the Howie Roseman intern office from Chip Kelly, all the way in the back of the bus. I guess he's probably happy.
All I know is it's going to be interesting. Go ahead, John.
The only thing I want to add is, everything that we talked about, there's 4 names that I didn't even hear in this whole thing, and they do play a role. Not that it's going to sway one side or other. A potentially disappointing season by Rhys Hoskins one year. You know what I mean? McCutcheon coming in on fire, then getting hurt, but not being fully ready for the second year, and then bringing in Didi on a 1-year contract.
Well, that's another guy you got to sign.
I'm just there's so many pieces, but you got to figure out what is it. It's like we brought in a slew over 2 years and we threw it all in a pot and boiled it, and it's like, what happened?
And you know what?
Absolutely nothing.
You make a good point. I know we're tailing out. We're going to get to our stiffs in a minute, but here's the thing. I actually thought about this when I was really diving into the analytics of the way this team was built over the last 3 years, and I said to myself, you know what? In a way, as much as I can't stand Klentak, I just don't even like the way he talks. Okay, but at the end of the day, I don't really think he did a terrible job.
No. Gregorius signing was amazing. We were all freaking out when that happened.
And McCutcheon was a good deal.
Yeah, it was.
Right? It was.
We were all pretty hyped when he put that team together.
And he did sign some decent bullpen pieces that just didn't produce.
They just didn't work out. Yeah.
Right. So John, I see it. I completely agree. Which is why maybe he gets re-signed, but I still think he's a punk, and I don't like the way he talks. So I'm not going to be on board with that.
Yeah, he's out.
Yeah, he's out.
Out.
All
You're
right,
out of here.
out. All right. So before we get to our all-time stiff list. Okay, let's bring up this trivia question one last time. Okay, Eagles trivia. Which cornerback's 96-yard fumble return touchdown versus Dallas in 2008 was the second longest in franchise history? For everybody watching, everyone that wants to let me know, hit me up on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook if you think you have it. If not, we will try to guess ourselves by the end of this show. But one thing we want to end on is every week I want to do an all-time fun segment, to whether in the middle, whether we, let's see, hold on, who did he draft? So we're talking about, so Matt seconded talking about, so I will say he drafted Alex Bone, right? We have to give him Alec Bone, and Alec Bone's a player, man. He's a player. Now, I don't think the draft is entirely on Klentak. I think our scouting department absolutely blows. Okay, it does. It's blown since Mike Arbuckle left in 2009. Okay, it's blown for that long, and that's why we don't have a farm system. But I will say that Klentak's scouting ability may not be as great, but I don't know who his scouts are. Right, that's the only problem. But I do know he drafted Alex Bone. Mickey Moniak is a stiff. He's not going to play. So there's a lot to be desired when we look at the draft. But Stott looks like he's going to be a player. So that looks like it's a good draft pick, right? So, Adam Hazley, he's a decent bench player. He's not a starter. So I don't think he did terrible. I just think that he tried to make moves. Here's the thing. He didn't just do nothing, right? That's the thing. He did a lot and tried to do a lot. It just didn't work, in my opinion. So Rick's checking in. He says Dawkins. If so, I remember how we were as a fan base. The Phillies just won the World Series 2 months earlier. That summer I went to Lehigh training camp. There was a lot of more red shirts. That's a good point. Remember when we taught this a little bit about maybe can the Phillies overtake the Eagles in this town? We talked about that for a little bit when they were on that roll. And you know what? There was a little, even if it was a couple months, man, they kind of dominated sports talk in this town, which is crazy. But Rick, it is not Brian Dawkins. I can tell you that. It is not Brian Dawkins. So here's what I want to do, guys. On our last few minutes, I want to end with the all-time stiff list. Okay, and I brought this up. Me and Mike were texting a little bit. We were talking about he was throwing some zingers out there, which I was cracking up. And again, this could be any sport. I just think about the all-time stiffs. They could be stiffs because you don't like their haircut, I like the way they talk. Right? They look like idiots. They just never panned out. Their name sounds ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right? Matt checking Troy Vincent. Matt, it is not Troy Vincent.
Yeah, but he's close. He's real close, and I thought that.
Mike. If you think he's close, you're wrong. You're wrong, Mike. I think you're not. No, it's not BT, bro. I'll tell you, it's not.
Okay,
BT.
so now I know who it is. All right.
When I say it, you're gonna be like, oh damn.
No, I got it.
Right. So all-time stiff list. Okay, so I put a little emphasis on stiff because I use the word a lot. And, and I'm going to start this off, and I'm going to make Mike laugh right off the bat.
Here we go.
I'm going to make him like Cherokee Parks.
Oh.
Okay. So when I think
That's
about this,
great.
Right? When I think about the stiff list, I just think of Cherokee Parks. Dude looked like he could barely run. He's got the direct specs going, hair's flying all over the place for Duke, right? You're thinking, wow, this dude actually can play basketball, right? So these are the kind of names that come. The first name I thought was Cherokee Parks.
That's great.
Backed up by another guy named the infamous Greg Ostertag, right?
Wow.
Greg Ostertag.
Wow.
Right?
Even John's like, wow. You can see the expression on his face.
Was he Kansas?
Yes. Oh, yes. Then he played for Utah, and he was actually the biggest moment in his career was on replay in The Last Dance. Okay, that was the biggest part of Greg Ostertag's career. Greg Ostertag. Mike, come on, man. Hit me with a couple. All-time stiff list.
All right, so just to clarify, stiffs could be anything, right? Like Tony said, it could be, a funny name. It could be somebody who's just a complete bust, somebody that looks weird, anything. And you can call him a stiff for a bunch of different reasons. But for whatever reason, when I think of stiff, I think of Babe Laufenberg. Just listen to that. That guy, you pull up a picture of Babe Laufenberg. He looks like a disheveled mess. Complete stiff.
Dude, who was he? He was a quarterback, right?
Babe Laufenberg.
I think he was a quarterback, right?
Yes, he was a quarterback.
Wow. Babe Laufenberg.
I mean, he's just, dude, when you think about stiffs, and he was all over the place. Like he played for the Cowboys. I remember him on the Cowboys. I think he even played for like Kansas City. But he's like another stiff. And I'll go to football because I lean heavily on football. But how about Heath Schuler?
Yeah, he was on my list too.
Was he really?
Wow. Yes.
Yeah, I was doing some research on him. He's actually a politician. I was kind of surprised to hear that. Yeah, I think he's a congressman for like North Carolina. But man, he turned out to be a stiff. Wasn't he like the first overall pick? He did nothing.
He broke records at University of Tennessee. You know what his quarterback rating was? 54.3. Wow. 54. Mike, I think me or you could do it better than that, bro.
Stiff.
Yes, that's the ultimate stiff. John, you're up.
Go, John. We're going to go.
Who's on your stiff? Oh,
he's got a good one. I could see it. Here it comes.
I have a good one and a bad one. Since you went with the name, I'm going Todd Van Poppel, who I've probably mentioned over the years, because back in the day when I was a younger fella, and upper deck baseball cards,
Nice.
were just fresh. I mean, these were the premier baseball cards. Like Tops were like they weren't even worth a nickel.
No.
Upper deck, they were glossed. Like they had the hologram emblem. You get a Todd Van Poppel rookie card. My God. I mean, that stuff's selling for like $60, $100.
I remember that
I
too,
get
man.
it for 50 cents on Marketplace. So that just goes to tell you how good Todd Van Poppel was, and my financial return on my investment when I was like 16.
Yeah.
14,
not
13,
a good
I
one.
don't know. I don't know what the age was, but it was in the early teens.
Todd Van Poppel. That's a good one. What's the other one you got?
My other one, I'm kind of opposite. I went from my teen years to someone who never grew out of his teen years, and Ryan Leaf, the number 2 overall pick in the 98 draft.
Ryan
basically double, he didn't play a lot of games. He had a terrible win percentage, more interceptions and touchdowns by double. Retires, goes into broadcasting, gets arrested for burglary, theft, then gets arrested for burglary, theft in another place. Then a week later gets arrested for burglary and theft.
That guy's a mess.
So I mean, going from number 2 overall pick, I mean, dude, you can't be a Brian Hoyer and somehow stick around for like 8 to 10 years as a backup or something.
Just milking the clipboard. Yeah, I mean, that's horrible. Tone, it's a shame you can't pull up a video of Ryan Leaf absolutely freaking out in the locker room. Remember when that reporter came up to him and started asking him questions and he went nuts?
We'll have to get that for next week.
Yeah, I watch those coaching meltdowns all the time. They're the best, but Ryan Leaf is a great one because his meltdown was classic. Tone, you got another one? I know you do.
I got a really good one.
Give me it.
How about the infamous Saran Stacy?
Wow.
Waste of a second-round draft pick from the Eagles, right? Waste, dude. He was ready for this. Hopes latched on with the Cleveland Browns, ended when he was arrested for theft at a Kmart. Saran Stacy, the infamous running back for the Philadelphia Eagles. And then I got the ultimate worst basketball player ever to lace a uniform, bro. Chris friggin' Dudley. Chris Dudley sucked. It was absolutely terrible.
My God.
Like if the Webster dictionary was still printed and the word stiff had a definition, the picture of Chris Dudley in a Portland Trailblazers uniform would be sticking out with a pair of chucks next to that
super
word,
stiff.
dude.
Super stiff.
Terrible. I don't even know how he made it in the NBA. Sorry. But yeah, terrible.
How about Jim Everett?
Jim Rome. Don't call me shit.
Well, you kept calling him Chris Everett, the tennis player. Remember? He freaked out. So you say that one more time, and we're going to find out.
One of the most classic moments ever in sports talk ever. Jim Rome made a career off of that, bro.
Yeah, he built his whole name off of calling Jim Everett Chris Everett.
Chris. That was great.
That was great.
That was classic.
That was viral before you could go viral.
Yes, yeah, exactly, John. You're absolutely right. Before there was even Twitter, it was going viral. Oh,
so I got another one. Randy Reddy.
Oh, from the Phillies.
How about that?
Randy. It's funny. Randy, I still remember. Right, he was number 23. He came over from the San Diego Padres.
There you go.
And he played all over. It was like the ultimate utility player.
Dude was all over the place. He just had a weird sort of demeanor about him in his name, Randy Reddy. So I just dug into what he's been up to because I remember as a kid having baseball cards of him. And you're right, he was on 57 different teams. He was like a journeyman, right?
He's always ready to get on a plane and go somewhere else.
Yeah, he does. He's just ready to he's probably been called into the manager's office and get cut so many times. So he's now the coach for, and you ready for this? The Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp.
What? Who the hell is the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp?
What?
That sounds perfectly fitting to me.
Yes, exactly. I mean, that's the ultimate right there.
The jumbo shrimp. So when I was just doing some research on Randy Reddy, I found that out, and I said, you know what, this guy's definitely a candidate because that's a perfect ending to his story.
Oh my God, that is unbelievable. The Jacksonville jumbo shrimp. That is fantastic. That's a great pull, man.
That's great. Yeah,
that's a great pull. You got another one, John? Before, or you only had a couple?
Yeah, that's all I had. I mean, I came prepared with 2 rock solid. That's what I had.
Well, I'll close this out with 2 more. Okay.
So why don't we do this? I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 5 left. Why don't you call one out and then I'll call one out?
All right. I'm going to go with the infamous. You said Ryan Leaf, John. I'm going to go from the guy who's living under a bridge right now, and that's Jamarcus Russell.
Oh, my God. Is that really true? He's not really.
Yes, he is.
That's horrible.
Yes, he is. Okay. Listen, top selection 2007, right? He never from LSU, right? He was cut from the Raiders after 3 seasons. He won 7 of 25 starts. He threw 23 picks, lost 15 fumbles, and had a completion percentage of 52 and a passer rating of 65.2. How do you mess that up? Right? How do you mess that up? That's the crazy part, right? Equal all-time worst player in NFL history, it says.
Oh, man.
That's a shame, but yes, he is living under a bridge. It's crazy.
Oh. God, hopefully that works out for him. That's rough. Okay, so how about Cade McNown?
Oh,
remember this guy?
Yes.
He came out during that draft, which was loaded with all these quarterbacks, and the only quarterback was that in the McNabb draft.
Yes.
And there was Achilles Smith. He was another one.
That was going to be my next stiff.
And that was. I just looked him up because you said Jamarcus Russell.
Yeah.
And I was like, Achilles Smith.
Think about that for a second.
That draft was full of busts.
And when you looked at that draft and when you heard everything leading up to that, they loved Achilles Smith. And you know who loved Achilles Smith? Remember the name Tom Heckert.
Oh my god,
Tom Heckert.
He wanted to draft him, didn't he?
Yes.
And Andy Reid was like, no, that's not happening.
McNabb's my guy. That's what he said. Thank God. So you right now thank Big Red for anything. Thank him for that, because can you imagine where we would have been in a franchise if we would have drafted Achilles Smith?
Yeah, we would have been bad, but I'm not the biggest Andy Reid fan, but I guess the longer that he's away from the Eagles, I do appreciate what he did here, but I still can't get over the fact of all the chokes in the NFC championships. I mean, it's just terrible. Danny Manning and the Carolina mess and every mess that we had with this guy. I go right back to that, because I was at a couple of those games and it was just so disappointing. Not to get on an Andy Reid tangent, but it just seems like he really got his act together and learned a lot in Philadelphia, and everything he learned. He really learned a lot, and then, he applied what he learned, and now he's like an unstoppable machine. So, I mean, I probably should appreciate him more, but it's hard to. He didn't draft John Harris, did he? Or was that?
No, that wasn't
Andy Reid. That was Ray Rhodes. Yeah, actually, you want to hear something crazy? I actually met John Harris once at a picnic. It's through a friend of a friend. He's a really, really nice guy. I had a long conversation with him. I was talking to him for about an hour.
Just can't play football.
You know what? Somebody told me who he was after. I said, oh, my God, that's the guy I destroyed for years. He's like the nicest guy. I felt so bad.
That is excellent.
Not to his face, because he's like 6'7", 300 pounds. He would have threw me through a brick wall with no problem. But a really, really nice guy, by the way.
I love it. Okay, John, what's up?
I got one more.
Oh, here it comes. End it with that. We're going to give the answer, and we'll get out of here. Go ahead.
Which it equates to 4 more. I'm going to go with Tim Couch, Brady Quinn, Brandon Whedon, and
Colt McCoy.
Johnny Manziel.
Johnny Manziel.
You're talking.
I could have went Colt McCoy. I was just going first rounders.
Yeah.
Brandon Whedon. Right.
Who was like 30 years old.
Exactly. who wait a minute, it's funny you mentioned that, because one of the guys that was going to be on my list was the all-time biggest stiff in Willie Green, who stiffed me in fantasy football one year because I traded, and Mike knows this.
You're holding
I got
grudge
stiff
still.
on my boy Frankie. Okay, gave up Curtis Martin for that stiff. He gets popped smoking weed in the car and never plays again. Man, Willie Green.
You're still holding a grudge against him.
Yes, I am.
Unbelievable.
100%.
Decades later.
Yes, exactly.
All right, so we can't forget about last one for me anyway. Dominic Brown.
And you know what's crazy? That he actually, dude, he was an all-star.
All-star.
Like he embodies the whole Space Jam concept of the aliens coming away and taking your powers, right? Taking your talents, because that's what happened to him. He just fell at the face of the earth. He couldn't hit the ball anymore.
And I was riding him on my darn fantasy baseball team all through April and May. Like, I got a gem. And poof, it all disappeared.
That is crazy. Oh, look, check it in.
Did somebody get it?
Bobby Hoying. No, Rick checks in with it all time. Bobby, that's a great one. That's a great one. People were out. Remember, we were all clamoring for Bobby.
Everybody
Hoying.
was.
We got Bobby Hoying. Yeah, that's what happened.
I remember the Daily News, the front page of the Daily News when he won that big game, and I forget who it was against, but the whole city was ready to anoint this guy as like the second coming, Bobby Hoying, and he was horrible.
Oh,
Pat Ryan style stuff.
Pat Ryan, Jeff Kemp, Bobby Brister.
How many do we have?
I mean, tons. We could go on all freaking.
Bobby Brister. He was a Steeler, John. That's a little smirk there. It was a Steeler.
Yeah, we don't talk about him too much in
Pittsburgh. Neil O'Donnell.
Every time I hear Neil O'Donnell, I just say Larry Brown. Or was it Larry Allen? Which one?
Larry Brown.
That's what I thought.
Larry Brown. He got paid off for that.
I hear Neil O'Donnell. It's like Larry Brown.
All right. So trivia question. Let's get this. Eagles trivia. Which cornerback's 96-yard fumble return touchdown versus Dallas in 2008 was the second longest in franchise history? Mike, you think you got it?
I think. John, you want to take a crack at it?
Nope.
Lito Shepherd?
No. It's
man.
not Lito Shepherd. And Matt checks in. The bum list is classic. Matt, let me tell you something, man. I had so much fun looking these guys up. I really did. Like literally, like if you Google all-time stiffs, like there's actually like Bleacher Report articles on all-time stiffs.
Oh yeah, it was fun reading those.
One guy I forgot was a Jarrett Lorenzen. Poor guy died, but
oh my god!
Remember when Jarrett Lorenzen stepped in for the Giants? I was like, yo, who is this guy? Man, looks like a tackling dummy, and they threw a helmet on him.
They found him.
The backup quarterback.
You know, it always comes down to they found this guy stocking shelves. You hear all that all the time, right?
Yes.
And they said that was the same thing about Kurt Warner. Kurt Warner wasn't he working at like a Heckinger?
Gennardi's. He was the bagger for Gennardi's.
I haven't heard Heckingers in like
Heckingers. Holy
right now.
Oh my God. So here's the answer, John. You got
that
one.
That was before Lowe's and Home Depot even existed.
Yes, it was. Heckingers. That, and there was another, I forget what it was.
Busy Beaver.
What Beaver?
Busy Beaver. That's a Pittsburgh thing.
I was gonna say a busy beaver means something else to me. I don't think about tools.
Can I take one more shot at it?
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Sheldon Brown?
No.
Damn.
No, ready? When I say this,
who is this?
What? Joselio Hansen.
Oh no. I would have never guessed that.
Here's the best part. So Joselio Hansen or Yoselio, whatever you want to say. He
should have been on the stiff list.
Yes, because remember, he was another guy who must have had naked pictures of Andy Reid's wife because
for sure.
Andy Reid loved him.
Loved the guy.
Loved him. And we were all like, what is this guy doing in the game? Joselio Hansen. But yes, he had a 96-yard fumble return against Dallas in 2008, man.
Great question. That was a deep one. Great question.
Yeah. Right? They're questions that you just wouldn't think, man. It's wouldn't think. But listen, man, we I'll tell you what, man. We went an hour again, man. Hour and 48
almost
minutes.
2 hours. Yeah. The stiff list was fun.
But you know what? The stiff list was fun. We got to do stuff like that more often because that gets it going, man.
Maybe we should just do a stiff of the week and have everybody comment on who they think it is, and we'll just vote on it, and we'll pick a winner at the end of the week.
Yeah, you know what?
Vote for your stiff of the week, and it could be a stiff from any sport, any decade.
Stiff of the week. Oh, that's great, man. Yeah. That is great. But check us out as always. Heat Ratio Podcast on all your social networks. Check us out: Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. Everybody checking in. Fantastic show again. I really appreciate it. I know Mikey does. I know John does. We'll get Dave back on the horn next week. Got a good thing going here. Messing around with some overlays, so it looks a little different every single week. So again, check the podcast out. Get on Apple, iTunes, get on Google Play, wherever you get your podcast, Spotify. Hit that 5-star, drop us a review. Greatly appreciate it. And it's Battle of PA this week, boys. So we'll see how. Hopefully, me and Mike and John are not wrong. I should say,
yes, keep it.
Hope we are wrong, but unfortunately, we probably are going to be right. And this will be another week of great sports that we'll be able to listen to and we'll be able to commentate on next week. So, everybody, as always, for your host, Tony Jigsaw Cotillo at TCotillo23, Mikey Googs, and John Coker at PGH John 36 at Heat Ratio Sports, all social networks. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll catch you next week.